I noticed some gooey stuff basically hanging out of me.
Hold me close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left.
She's laughing. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Isabella. I'm here to tell you my birth story, and I'm super excited to share this with you because it is a positive birth story. You know, you hear a lot of these negative birth stories, but I feel like there's not enough positive ones out there. I'm glad that my experience was a very positive one so that I can spread that a little bit. So yeah, today I'll be talking about my labor. This is the second part, so if you haven't checked out the first video, I talk about my pregnancy and how that all went, so go check that out. Part 2 of this beginning to motherhood story, I guess. I went to my 39-week appointment. They told me I was 1 centimeter dilated, and just to let you guys know, I was actually almost 40 weeks along when they scheduled that appointment. I hit 40 weeks and 5 days. This was September 28th of 2020. And I woke up, normal day, got up, started cleaning, eating breakfast, you know, just doing the normal things. I was already on maternity leave at this point. Around 11 a.m. is when I went to the bathroom and I noticed, TMI, but I think you're here for some TMI. I noticed what is called the bloody show. I had done a lot of research. I was constantly looking for like signs like this of labor. Once I noticed that, I got a little bit of excitement in me. I was like, could today be the day? Sometimes when you see the bloody show, it could take weeks or days or whatever. I knew it wasn't gonna take weeks because at that point I was already overdue. And I went and hopped into the shower. It was probably like about an hour later. I noticed some gooey stuff basically hanging out of me. And I was like, what the hell is that? And I thought about it for a second. I was like, oh my gosh, like that is my mucus plug. Okay, like that's the second thing, you know. Today, I think maybe, possibly, might be the day. Got out of the shower and Javier got home from work, and I, you know, told him what was going on. I said, you know, don't get too excited because it could be a few more days. At this point, we were both so impatient. We had things ready for her for months before. So we had just been waiting and anticipating the moment for a long time at that point. So after my shower, I started tracking my contractions. They were probably around 12 to 15 minutes apart. I was not super close, but I figured, you know, I might as well just start tracking them just in case I do notice a difference. I use this app to track the contractions. I was a little nervous, but I knew that I wanted to labor at home as long as possible. But probably around 4 p.m., the contractions were about 8 to 10 minutes apart. For a new mom, they want you to go into the hospital when they're about 5 to 6 minutes apart. You know, I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm getting closer. I was getting so excited. It's coming, you know? Like I knew I was getting closer. The contractions, I actually felt them getting stronger. I had Braxton Hicks a lot during my pregnancy from very early on. So I knew that this was a different feeling. Like they felt different, they were stronger, they were there. I had my mom and Javier's sister come over. I was bouncing on my birth balls, doing some stretching. My mom rubbed my feet because if you watched my last video, my feet were, oh my gosh, it was horrible. I was probably around like 5 to 6 p.m. when I was like, okay, these are a little bit intense. I was just kind of taking it, and like I said, I knew I wanted to labor at home as long as possible, so I knew it was not time to go yet. I wanted to go when they were like unbearable, because again, I was not gonna get the epidural. Javier probably got home around like 7:30 p.m. At that point, I was kind of like bent over on the wall, just taking every contraction in and breathing. I watched a lot on like breathing techniques. just how to take every contraction as this is one contraction closer to meeting my baby. So that's what I kept telling myself in my head. I forgot to mention that I called my doctor probably around like 1 p.m. and told them about the bloody show and the mucus plug. They were like, okay, just come in when your contractions get 5 to 6 minutes apart. I was actually probably 30 to 45 minutes away from the hospital, so I knew that it was a little bit of a drive. I also kept that in mind. We probably left to the hospital around like 8 o'clock. We got there closer to 9 p.m. We got all checked in and we went into this little room where they were gonna like check my dilation first, and if they're actually gonna bring me in and give me a room to deliver in. They checked my dilation. I was at a 4. I was really excited because I've heard all these stories about, you know, the dilation process going really slowly. I knew that they were going to give me a room now. Got in the room probably around like 10:45, 11. Javier ran to the car to get all the bags. But at that point, the contractions were pretty bad. I was just walking around the room. They had a birth ball there that I could labor on. I called in advance to make sure that they had a birth ball at my hospital. It was probably around 1 a.m. is when they started getting really, really bad. I was having Javier like push on my back and try to counter the contractions, and the doctor was showing him a bunch of different techniques. This is where I started getting in my head, and I turned around and I looked at Javier and I was like, you know, I don't know if I can do this. I think I might need the epidural. He had just reminded me something that I watched. I think her name's Bridget Taylor. He just said, don't make the decision to get an epidural during a contraction. Work through the contraction. If you still want the epidural when the contraction is over, then get it. For moms who feel like they do not need or want the epidural. The reason why I didn't want the epidural is because I kind of just tend to stay away from medicine. The less medicine I put in my body, the better, in my opinion. I made the final decision to get the epidural. I don't want to remember this as a negative time in my life. I want this to be remembered as a positive experience. I just tried not to be mad at myself for getting the epidural. At first, I was kind of disappointed in myself, but again, I knew I wanted to have a positive experience. When I got the epidural, it was not bad at all. I did not even feel it at all. They actually checked my dilation. I was at a 6. Progressing pretty quickly made me really, really excited. It was really hard to stay still while they were giving me the epidural. I was able to do it because I knew I just wanted to be numb as hell. Maybe like 15 to 20 minutes later, I felt like after that, I was able to kind of rest. Javier fell asleep on the little tiny couch. I felt so bad. I was way too excited to actually go to sleep. The doctors came back in probably around 5 a.m. and they checked me again, and I was at a 9.5. So they called it a 9.5 because I had a little lip in the way. They just wanted to give me another hour to see if that would completely go away. Well, they came back in around 6 a.m. and she checked me again and I was at a 10. I was so excited. So at this point, I was in labor for about 18 hours. Since labor, probably only about 7 of those hours. But she came in, told me I was at a 10, and told me it was time to push. I started practice pushes probably around like 6:10, 6:15. I was really focused on pushing. I knew that it could possibly be a long night, but I wanted to start out strong, so I really went for it on these practice pushes, okay? I pushed a few times. All of a sudden, the nurse was like, oh, I see her hair. Like, she has a lot of hair. I was like, oh, you can see her head already? With the epidural, you feel the pressure, but with my epidural, it was totally painless. All I felt was pressure. And Javier was helping actually hold my leg up. He was not gonna look, okay? And I was totally fine with that. I wasn't gonna make him look or anything. But when she said, oh, she has a lot of hair, he just like instinctively just looked. And he was like, oh. When I started pushing, she was in -3 station, which just means she's higher up in my pelvis. And so that's why she wanted to do some practice pushes to see if we can get her lower. And man, did we get her lower. The nurses were getting everything ready to go. Not even kidding you. She started sliding out. I was not pushing at all. Then she like called for the midwife because I had the option to have a midwife or a doctor. So I chose a midwife. No specific reason, I just did. The midwife literally walks into the door and catches her. I was like, what the hell just happened? Are you serious? I'm done already? Immediately put her on my chest and oh my gosh, that was amazing. I was like so proud of myself. My baby's here, she's safe, she's in my arms. I was so excited to have her in my arms finally. We did skin to skin for 1 hour. After that hour was over, they weighed her. She was 8 pounds, 10 ounces, 20 inches long. There Miss Mila Castillo was. She was beautiful and swollen and a little funny looking. I feel like all babies are a little funny looking when they first come out. I was just in awe. I was just staring at her like, I can't believe I grew her. I nourished her. Of course, Javier held her for the first time. That was, oh my gosh, that was an emotional moment for me. So birthing at the hospital during the pandemic wasn't as bad as I thought it was gonna be. I was unfortunately not able to have my mom there, which was really sad, but I ended up just being okay with it because I knew there's nothing I can change, so it was just what I had to deal with. That is my positive birth story. I'm so happy and grateful that I get to share a positive one with you guys. If you haven't checked out my last video talking about my pregnancy, please go check that out. So thank you so much for supporting me and coming back to my channel. And if you're new, please subscribe, like, comment a little bit of how your birth story went. I would love to hear it. The next video in this series is going to be my postpartum phase. Currently 3 months postpartum, and I'm just gonna talk about like the first 3 months. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys next time. Bye.
I'll be dreaming. I'll be dreaming. I'll be dreaming. I'll be dreaming.